Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for attending this virtual meeting organized by SKP Securities. On behalf of Black Rose Industries Limited and SKP Securities, it's my pleasure and privilege to welcome you to this Q1 FY22 financial results webinar. We have with us Mr. Anup Jatia, Executive Director, along with Mr. Sandeep Chokhani, Director, Mr. Amrish Daga, GM Corporate Operations, and Mr. Ratan Agrawal, CFO. We'll have the opening remarks from Mr. Jatia and his colleagues, followed by a Q&A session. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Jatia, for your opening remarks. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and during the course of discussion, there may be certain forward-looking statements, and these must be viewed in conjunction with the risk the company faces. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Naveenji. Welcome everybody to this first webinar of our company's earnings call. The previous months have been challenging for many of us with the issues regarding the second wave of COVID. I hope all of you are well, and I hope all your families are also well. I would now like to start the earnings presentation with Mr. Amrish Daga. Over to Mr. Amrish Daga.
Thank you, Anupji. Let us start the presentation. So we start with the earnings webinar presentation for Q1 of FY 21-22. Just a quick disclaimer on the presentation. This presentation is prepared by Black Rose Industries for information purpose only, and it also contains several forward-looking statements which are of course subject to uncertainties, and the actual results could be different from what is depicted in this presentation. Moving on to the business presence of Black Rose. Black Rose started almost 3 decades ago and has been in chemical distribution business for a long time now, since the start of this century. The Black Rose business is divided into the chemical distribution segment, which is mainly dealing into the import and distribution of a wide range of specialty and performance chemicals from our brand enhancing principles, which are spread across the world. Recently, we also added the distribution of dental solutions to our distribution portfolio. This distribution business has helped us in moving to the next value chain of chemical manufacturing. So Black Rose started with the manufacture of acrylamide liquid at India's first plant in Jhagadia in the state of Gujarat in financial year 13-14, with an initial capacity of 10,000 metric tons of acrylamide liquid, which this plant was started with technical collaboration from Mitsui Chemicals of Japan. The current capacity for the acrylamide liquid plant is 20,000 metric tons for merchant sales, with an additional 12,000 metric ton capacity for its own captive consumption in the intermediate moment. The further downstream product of polyacrylamide liquids was started in October 2019 with an initial capacity of 6,600 metric tons per annum, which was subsequently expanded, and the current installed capacity for this plant is 40,000 metric tons, with main concentration in the binder industry as of now. As regards the upcoming projects, Lacrose has already completed its piloting stage for the acrylamide solid plant, which is being set up with a capacity of 3,600 metric tons per annum. And the piloting is currently in progress for N-methanol acrylamide, which is NMA. It will have a capacity of 2,000 metric tons per annum. And subsequently, also in the pipeline is the polyacrylamide solid plant with a capacity of 10,000 metric tons per annum, which is currently in the R&D stage. Apart from the distribution and manufacturing, there are certain legacy business and other businesses which we are engaged in, which is the renewable energy and the manufacture of textile made-ups, which is located in Kolhapur in Maharashtra. These businesses, however, contribute less than 1% to the total revenue. Lacrose Industries has its 100% subsidiary BR Chemicals Company Limited, which is based in distribution in Japan and is engaged in the local distribution and export of chemicals. Moving on to the chemical distribution business. The distribution business is the foundation of Lacrose growth, Lacrose Industries growth. It is based on the strong relationships which Lacrose enjoys with its Japanese manufacturers, wherein we work directly with the manufacturers rather than the normal practice of Japanese companies to distribute their products only through intermediaries. This, coupled with the deep-rooted understanding which Lacrose has developed over the years for the Indian chemical market, helps us in meeting the demands and the requirements of our end user customer base and providing them products from the global chemical leaders, leading manufacturers from the global chemical industry. This understanding also helps us in pre-planning and forecasting the sales and the stock requirements, and helps us tide over any global tightness as well as getting pricing benefits at the same time. Moreover, the chemical distribution business and our presence in this market has also given us the opportunity to progress to the manufacturing of chemicals as and when the opportunity has arisen. And we are always on the lookout to add more products and more markets to our portfolio from time to time. The next slide shows us the major principles which Lacrose is working with. Many of our principles are based out of Japan, whereas some of the others are based in Germany, Thailand, and China. The major distributors for us are Mitsui Chemicals, Sumitomo, GC Glycol, and so on and so forth. Now, some of the key distribution products which Lacrose is a market leader in are resorcinol, metacresol, isothalic acid, and ethylenamines in the specialty division. In performance, Lacrose has deals in flocculants and coagulants, rectifying agents, etc. Whereas most of the products in exports are also listed in this slide. Now, moving on to the entry of Lacrose into manufacturing, I will hand over the mic to Mr. Sandeep Chokhani, who will take us forward in this presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, Lacrose started its manufacturing business with the introduction of acrylamide into the country, which was South Asia's first plant when we started the plant in the year 2000. Primarily, we were distributors for acrylamide from Mitsui Chemicals, and due to EHS issues, Mitsui Chemicals stopped producing the solids, and importing the liquid was a cumbersome job with packaging involved and the freight cost for the water involved in the solution. Although there were many people vying for that business to manufacture the product in India, due to our strong relationships with Mitsui Chemicals, along with the end user base with market knowledge, got us the technical collaboration of Mitsui Chemicals, and we were able to set the plant in India. Initial capacity was at 10,000 metric tons per annum, which was gradually upgraded to 20,000 metric tons per annum currently of merchant sales, with additional capacity to feed our other polyacrylamide business. The advantage we have in Mitsui Chemicals technologies, that is the very advanced technology with lower capital investment as compared to the traditional copper-based catalyst method. Acrylamide primarily is used to manufacture downstream product called as polyacrylamides. Polyacrylamides find its usage in various industries, which include enhanced oil recovery in the oil exploration industry. It is again fracking, wastewater, sewage treatment, paper, textiles, sugar, ceramic tiles, etc. There's a large global market for acrylamide, and it is continuously growing around 4.6%, and it is expected to grow further until 2026. Domestic market size is limited at the moment at 10,000 metric tons per annum. Primarily, there are two major producers of, there are just two producers of acrylamide in the country. One is us, Blackrose, and one is the SNF Group. Overseas producers include Mitsui Chemicals, our technical collaborators, Mitsubishi Chemicals, BASF, Kemira, SNF Group, and many other Chinese companies. As I told you, the current capacity is 20,000 metric tons with additional capacity for in-house captive consumption. The primarily the raw material used is acrylonitrile, which is globally available, and the key manufacturers include Ineos, Accent Chemicals, Tongshu, Seco, and many companies in China as well. We also have started polyacrylamide liquid business. The current capacity of our plant is 40,000 metric tons per annum, and we are focusing primarily on the ceramic industry. That is tile manufacturing companies who use our product as a binder to give the green strength to the tiles. So polyacrylamide is also used in, as a flocculent agent, cleaning agent, binder, as I told you, super absorbent polymers, soil conditioners, filtering aid, lubricant, and oil recovery agent. Depending on the application, time is consumed in liquid form or solid form. As I just told you, we are primarily currently focusing on the liquid form, and shortly we'll be introducing the solid form. There is a large global market for polyacrylamide liquids at $4.5 billion. Domestic size is fairly large as well at 120 metric tons per annum. Global producers of polyacrylamide liquid include BASF, Kemira, SNF Group, MD Aqua, and other Chinese manufacturers. There are several Indian producers as well in the polyacrylamide business, such as BASF India, SNF India, Ion Exchange, Thermax, Pidilite, Vision Industries, Nalco, and others. The main raw material is our own self-produced acrylamide liquid along with acrylic acid and caustic soda. Acrylic acid is primarily imported from South Asian countries. Over to you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Good afternoon. The standalone financial, the profit and loss of the company for the quarter. Revenue from operations stands at 605.8 million for the Q1 FY22, is off by 130% as compared to corresponding quarter Q1 FY21, and is marginally lower by 11% on quarter-on-quarter basis due to slowdown in market due to the second wave of pandemic. The PAT, the EBITDA margin and the PAT for the quarter 1 FY22 is similar on quarter-on-quarter basis and healthier as compared to corresponding Q1 FY21. The standalone EPS for quarter 1 FY22 is 1.42. And standalone balance sheet with regard to the sources and application of funds. Reserves and surplus of the company is increasing in a steady way on quarter-on-quarter basis, and this has helped the company to finance its ongoing projects and capex through internal accruals. There is no long-term debt in the company, and the debt equity ratio is in a very healthy position at 0.11. Return on equity and return on capital employed for Q1 FY22 is at 29.66% and 39.18% respectively, which is shows the healthy position of the balance sheet. The current ratio of the company for the Q1 FY22 is 2.48 and indicates the strong working capital position of the company. Financial standalone. So EBITDA, the revenue stands at 608.76 million for Q1 FY22 as compared to 263.52 million in the corresponding Q1 FY21, which is off by 106.01%.
So I would just like to explain the numbers a little bit here. In 2021, April and May, there was a demand slowdown due to the second wave of COVID. A lot of factories were shut. Certain factories were unsure about how the second wave would unfold, and demand came down. At the same time, although there was a steep rise in a lot of chemical prices in Q4 FY21, suddenly the prices fell in Q1 of this year because of the panic selling that took place due to the steep slowdown that happened in April and May. We concentrated mostly on sales where we could do profitable sales, and there was a lot of business that we decided to forego due to the unhealthy prices which were prevailing in the market at the time, and we continued to maintain adequate stocks. Now, in terms of the manufactured products, there was an improvement in overall sales in the last quarter. Not so much from the domestic market, but more from the export side, which I will again explain a little bit later. What also the other thing that we saw in Q1 of this year was there was an increase in raw material prices in the previous quarter, Q4 of FY21, and some of that increase was reflected in the Q1 numbers. So these are some of the reasons why you would see the overall EBITDA having reduced and the overall sales having reduced. But as you can see on the previous page, the EBITDA margins have not reduced much. The EBITDA margins for the business as a whole moved down from 18.6% to 17.6%, despite the challenges that we saw in the market at the time.
Thank you, Ajit. Then the revenue and geographical mix of revenue. The distribution business contributes 63% of the total revenue for the quarter, and 36% is from the manufacturing activity. The other 1%, that is renewable and textile, constitute less than 1% of the total turnover. I get in geographical, we say local domestic sales contribute 86% of the total turnover, whereas exports contribute 14% of the total.
Just to elaborate a little bit on these the geographic mix, as was mentioned in our earlier quarter earnings call, the Q4 of FY21, you can see a very small export percentage, which is only 7%. Now, this was largely due to the fact that global logistics prices increased very sharply during that period, and many customers were caught off guard with the steep rise of their landed cost of the products. Now, once those costs were accepted by the customers and their downstream customers, the export volumes again picked up, and that's why you see a pickup on exports from Q1 FY22. So this is really the reason why the geographical shift has taken place between Q4 and Q1 this year.
The financial distribution, this is the distribution revenue. Distribution revenue for Q1 FY22 stands at 383.3 million as compared to 486.73 million in the previous quarter, and 157.79 million as compared to Q1 FY21. We can see that considering the base of FY20, the revenue has increased 133% in Q1 FY21, 124% in FY21, Q4 FY21, and 132% in FY22 in the EBITDA of the company.
Now again, I can explain some of these numbers. Basically, on the distribution business, there was a overall reduction in revenue. Now, this is a large reason for this is due to delayed arrivals of imported goods. Again, because of the global logistics issues, there were also some shipment delays which took place from our principals in Germany. So all of these reasons caused about a 19% drop in sales compared to what was expected during the quarter. Overall, the prices of resorcinol were under pressure. Several other chemicals prices also were under pressure, like I mentioned earlier. So that's again a reason why we did not participate in some of these sales during that period. However, products such as ethanolamines, 1,3-bromochloro-propane, hydroquinone, metazylene, some of these products did very well during the period. But especially these sales picked up in June after the April and May slowdowns.
Credentials of manufacturing, the revenue and the EBITDA. The revenue from the manufacturing activity for Q1 FY22 stands at 200.33 million as compared to 187.58 million this quarter, and as compared to Q1 FY21, it stands at 102.36 million. The EBITDA has risen during the period. In Q1 FY21, it was 106%, and in Q4 FY21 it is 192%, and in Q1 FY22 it is 138%.
Now, again, to explain some of these numbers, acrylamide prices in general were higher during the quarter due to higher acrylamide prices, which were seen in Q4 FY21. Exports, although they increased, could have still been higher, again due to space availability on outbound vessels. This is a problem that is being faced by every single exporter today, no matter what the commodity may be in India. Vessel space is highly difficult to obtain, and this is causing some level of export slowdowns, although the demand is strong. So our exports form 40% of the manufacturing sales in the quarter. That's largely because the domestic sales were down, and so the export proportion was up. And the polyacrylamide liquid as well, the sales improved during the quarter as we kept adding new customers and kept continuing with our trials and capturing market share. Now, let me explain a little bit about the ongoing projects. So the first project I'd like to explain is the acrylamide solid project. Currently, China is the only producer worldwide for acrylamide solids. We are looking at meeting 100% of India's domestic demand because under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, our capacity that is being set up is for 3,600 metric tons. Last year in FY21, the domestic market size had slightly reduced due to the COVID slowdowns and was at 2,300 metric tons per annum. Otherwise, typically the domestic market size is approximately 3,500 tons. The capex outlay for this project is 8 crore rupees, 80 million rupees, which will be all funded from our internal accruals. The piloting stage has been completed, and we expect the plant to commence operations in Q3 FY22. The expected annual revenue, of course, will vary based on the prices of the product, but as of now, we expect to achieve about 650 million rupees, 65 crore rupees at full capacity. The product, besides the domestic demand, has also a very large international demand. And currently, all the world's consumers are buying the product only from China. So there are several companies, MNCs and various other companies who are awaiting the launch of our production of this product. The other product that we are now currently under the project stage is N-methanol acrylamide. Currently, the entire domestic demand is met through imports. Yes, there are a few companies in India which produce NMA for their captive consumption, but all the sales, merchant sales of this product is only met currently through imports. Again, we intend to convert the entire import demand into our sales, and we are planning a capacity of 2,000 metric tons per annum. Last year, again, like I mentioned, due to the slowdowns, although the domestic market is typically around 1,000 tons per year, last year the market size was around 500 tons. We are currently in the piloting stage over here, and we expect the plant to commence also in the next quarter. This product should provide approximately 35 crore rupees to our top line. The third product that we have been working on is the polyacrylamide solid business. We plan to produce 10,000 metric tons per annum in our first phase of this product. Here we have a very important opportunity to emerge as a significant regional player as well as an international player. Currently, a lot of polyacrylamide solid is being exported from China again into the US markets, where they have to pay extremely high duties, which have been a Trump era legacy. Several of our customers in the US have been interested in our polyacrylamide solid project. So we do intend to be an international player also in this product. The domestic market size is 10,000 metric tons, which it does not include the oil and gas sector. We don't intend to capture this entire market for ourselves. We do intend to have at least a 50% focus on the export markets here. The total capex outlay is approximately 60 crores, and this should bring an annual revenue of approximately 200 crores at full capacity. We are currently in the R&D stage, as has been mentioned earlier as well. We have decided to first complete the projects of the acrylamide solid as well as the NMA, because these are products which we can bring to market faster, and we have prioritized that. And once we are ready with that, we will be pushing on the solid side much more strongly. The outlook for the current quarter, on the chemical distribution side, the demand has been relatively strong this quarter compared to the last, and even compared to some other quarters in the previous year. So we feel this will be a very strong quarter for the company. The sales and realizations have also improved, especially in products such as isophthalic acid, acrylonitrile, and metacresol. We have also been able to add a new product to our range, which is a product manufactured by Mitsubishi Gas Chemicals, MGC. We do handle already their isophthalic acid in India, and they have now also given us their neopentyl glycol to handle for this market. These products go to the same end user base, so we already have the marketing network for this new product. On the acrylamide liquid side, the domestic demand is gradually picking up. It's still a little bit sluggish compared to what we would like, but it has been picking up in the recent weeks. Export demand also is very healthy, but they are impacted by the logistics issues. We currently have orders which are waiting for vessel availability so that we can ship them out. But export demand has been good, and we expect export demand to remain strong. On the polyacrylamide liquid side, which is primarily our Brilbind CE01, which is the ceramic binder that we produce, our market share has been growing. However, again, the demand in the binder industry in Morbi currently has been negatively impacted to some extent due to the logistics issues which are affecting the export of tiles from Morbi. But overall, the demand is quite healthy, and we see our market share improving consistently in that market. And regarding projects, I've already explained that to you just now. So yes, we will be strongly pursuing all of our projects, and we will keep you updated with developments as they happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anup. Okay, we can start the Q&A session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may please raise your hand and we'll unmute you to take your question. We'll just wait for a minute or two and have some questions lined up, and then we can start. The first question is from Yog Rajni. Please unmute yourself and go ahead. Anubji, you'll have to unmute yourself.
I will unmute as soon as he
Sure.
asking the question.
Yog, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Okay. Could you please share the capacity utilizations for the last quarter and also possible for the current utilization of the different manufacturing units, acrylamide and polyacrylamide? Hello.
Okay. Thank you, Yog. The capacity utilization on the acrylamide and the polyacrylamide side. The capacity utilization on acrylamide has been at around 40% of the normal capacity that we have in the previous quarter, largely because of the slowdowns that we saw in the market over here. And on the polyacrylamide side, it's at about 25% as it was in the Q4 as well. We were able to increase the market share, so we were able to maintain a similar capacity utilization compared to the previous quarter.
Okay. So the numbers are 40% and 25%, just to be.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
A part of that reason is because of stocks that had also been built up during April and May because of the slow sales due to the lockdowns.
Okay.
But despite that, we've been able to have a good EBITDA margins on those businesses.
Could you also share the current capacity utilizations?
I think that will be shared with the next quarter results.
Okay. All right. Definitely. Thank you.
Yes.
That's my question for now.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. A reminder, in any of you, if you have a question, request you to kindly unmute yourself and go ahead. We have a question from Ankit Babel. Ankit, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, Ankit, please go ahead.
So my first question is, in the last annual report, you had given the target of 650 crore revenue for FY23. So just wanted to understand, is that target still intact or there has been any change in that?
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. I believe this question was also asked in the previous quarter earnings results, and I do remember answering that question. Basically, the 650 number was based on a non-COVID world, and that was given at the time when we were not expecting things to be the way they are today. We still expect to reach this number, but the timelines will definitely shift a little bit ahead. I can't give you an exact timeline because we don't know whether there's going to be a third wave. Today there was an article mentioning that the third wave is going to be even more severe than the second wave. So, with these uncertainties, I would not like to give any numbers which will only serve to confuse the public. But yes, the targets are intact. We are continuing our growth as the business allows us to do so, as the markets allow us to do so. So yes, the targets is intact, but the timeline I cannot tell you for sure on the timeline, whether it will be in FY23 or FY24.
Okay, so whenever we reach, maybe by FY23 or FY24, at that level of top line, what could be your profitability in, say, at EBITDA level or PBT, whatever you would like to share?
See, EBITDA margins are a function of various issues. And one of the important issues is, of course, the capacity utilization of the plant. So when we're talking about the 650 crore, we are talking about running the plants at full capacity. So if you look at our Q4 FY21 manufacturing EBITDA, which were there on the earlier sheet, which Ratanji was explaining to you, we were at about 192% of our base manufacturing EBITDA in Q4 FY21 when we were running our acrylamide plant at 100% capacity utilization. So generally, the manufacturing kind of businesses are always related to capacity utilization. So the better the utilizations, we expect the higher EBITDA margins to be here than what we have now.
Utilization levels, what would be your margins in the manufacturing side?
Sorry?
At optimum utilization of capacity, what would be your margins in the manufacturing side?
I'm sorry, your voice is, the first part of your question was a little cracking. Can you just repeat the first part?
My question is that at optimum utilization of capacity, what would be your EBITDA margins in the manufacturing side?
So we don't share these numbers because they affect our sales in the sense that being a public company and acrylamide being our key product, we don't like to mention exact EBITDA numbers because it affects our salespeople. Don't like it very much because they have difficulties then with the price increases when they require. But they're above. They are above 20%. I can tell you that.
Okay.
Much significantly above 20%.
Okay, and sir, my last question is on your this PAM solid facility. So by when you expect the construction to start and complete, and by when can we see the production to start?
The acrylamide solid.
Yeah, PAM solid. Yeah.
PAM solid. Okay. So PAM solid, like I mentioned, this is currently in the R&D stage. We've already completed a section of the building for this plant. We will be working on this. We will be prioritizing this activity only in the not in Q3 but from Q4. We will be prioritizing this product. So at the earliest, I would look at sometime during FY23 as the startup, and as of today, we would consider FY24, early part of FY24, maybe as the latest for this project to start. But again, it's an estimate.
So sorry, your voice was not clear. So by FY25, you expect the actual production to start, or by FY24 you expect?
I said that during FY20, the setup of the plant I was mentioning, that the plant setup at the earliest would be completed in FY23 and the latest in FY24. But again, like I said, that is an estimate.
Okay, so full ramp up we can see by FY25, right?
Full ramp up really depends on how fast the qualities become accepted by the party. These are again performance products, so they need to be trialed. They need to go on the field. People have to use it. So on the export side, the volumes could be starting faster because each single customer's demand is very large. On the domestic side, the 10,000 ton market is split up between many small customers. So the domestic side may take a little bit longer for full ramp up. But yeah, I mean, ideally within a year, we should hope to be close to our full capacity there.
Okay.
10,000 tons is not a very large quantity when we talk about polyacrylamides. So, it's not a very large product in the sense of when you compare the global market of polyacrylamides, it is significantly larger.
So actually, sir, why I was asking this question was because in your earlier estimates of 650 crores of revenue, you were expecting some 200 crores coming from this PEM solid plant. Now, if your targets are intact, but the contribution from...
We are expecting 200 crores, right? Yeah, correct. Yes. Go on, yes.
Yeah. So you were expecting 200 crores to be contributed by the PEM solid plant. Now that is getting delayed, but your targets are intact. So will any other product substitute, this loss from PEM solid in the coming year?
So 100 crores we are anticipating from just the acrylamide solid and the NMA. That's about 100 crores over there. So I said the target number is intact, but I said that the timeline has shifted. So 650 crore as a number is definitely a target that we still have, but that is not the timeline for that will shift. That is what I mentioned.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Ankit. Friends, anyone with a question, request you to kindly raise your hand. Okay. There are a few questions that Saloni Himnani has sent to us. Anupji, if I can just read them out.
Sure.
How much time will it take for you to utilize the capacity for both acrylamide and NMA starting from Q3 FY22?
The acrylamide capacity, we are hopeful to be able to utilize that 100% of that capacity within 6 months from the start of the plant. The demand is very strong for that product, both domestically and internationally, and it is a simple replacement it's a simple import substitute. So, and acrylamide is a product which we are already very familiar with and actively selling in the market. So the acrylamide solid business we expect to ramp up very quickly once it begins. The NMA side, the NMA product is slightly technical. It requires certain approvals again at the customer end. So that may take a little bit longer. The domestic market will be around 50% of our sales. So I think it will take us probably maybe up to a year to capture the domestic market. And during that period, we will also be sending our samples out to international customers and getting those approvals there. So I think to a year and a half should be a time frame that may be possible.
Thank you, Anupji. Second question from Saloni. Could you give a little more detail on how we are able to capitalize on products with such low fixed costs? The asset turnover is pretty impressive. So just wanted to understand a little more on that.
So see, the concept of asset turnover is more relevant when you are looking at very large chemical projects such as petrochemicals and things like this. Today, when you are manufacturing specialty chemicals like what we do, the equipment costs are not very significant. It is really the technology and the raw materials that go into it. It's like a cooking pot, right? Today, you have a cooking pot. You can put different ingredients in there. You might put something. It will still, it's still going to give you an output. So the concept of asset turnover doesn't really make much relevance in the kind of products that we are in. So I do get this question a lot of times, but I don't know if I'm answering it correctly. But these are not petrochemical plants where we have extremely high investments to make low value products. These are, the products are specialty products. So yeah, that's why you get these kind of numbers. And for example, on the acrylamide solid, the 8 crore investment is only for the additional equipment which we need to manufacture the solids. We already make the liquids. So the 8 crore investment is not to set up a whole new plant to make acrylamide solid. It is acrylamide liquid is already produced. From the acrylamide liquid, we produce a solid. So the 8 crore additional investment is only going into that side of the production process, which requires from converting a liquid to a solid. That's why maybe the numbers seem the way they are.
Thank you, Anup. Aman, if you can just hold on for a minute. Last question from Salonius. Could you please let us know something on the cost for setting up NME?
Sorry?
The cost for setting up NME is not mentioned. Could you please let us know the cost of this as well?
Yeah. So the cost of setting up NME has not been mentioned right now because we have just completed the piloting, and based on the results of the piloting trials, the plant will be set up. But largely, we will be able to use a lot of the existing equipment to manufacture this product. So the additional investment will be not very much on that.
Thanks, Anup. We have a question from Aman Vig. Aman, can you please unmute yourself and go ahead?
Good afternoon, sir. My first question is on the polyacrylamide liquid side. So maybe if you can talk about what is the progress there. You had talked about there was a strike and there were some issues. And what kind of utilization are we targeting for this year, FY22?
Okay. So on the liquid side, there was a very short strike which took place about a couple of weeks ago, but that strike is now over. The issue now is more on the export side because a lot of these tile manufacturers in Morbi are exporting their tiles. So they would have some issues with export logistics, vessels not being available. But the demand from the market is now coming back. We don't see any major market slowdowns right now, at least amongst our customers. Things are moving fine. Our capacity utilization currently is at about 25%. We are targeting to bring that up to around 35% during the next quarter, and then gradually increasing it from 35 to 50. So I think what we are targeting is by the end of this year, this financial year, we should look at around 60% capacity utilization is what we will be targeting for this year.
Yes, thank you for that. On PAM liquid, so we are currently only in binders and we are dependent only on this Morbi vitrified tile industry. Any plans to enter? There are a lot of adjacent industries, paper industry, chemical treatment, water treatment, and all those on PAM liquid.
We do have some R&D happening in that direction, especially on the textile printing ink binder segment, which is again an interesting area for these PAM liquids. But currently we want to focus on the ceramic binder. We are also looking at further improvements in our binder product, make it even more robust, make it even more effective, so to keep the competition even further away from us. So we would like to consolidate our presence and our technologies on the ceramic binder product first before moving on to other products in this field. But yes, we do have other polyacrylamide liquid processes and products in our pipeline.
Sure. The final question on PAM liquid side. So on the binder side, you have talked about the market size is, I think, 1.2 lakh metric tons PAM liquid. So is it mostly catered by one single player in India, or are there other big players also present in India?
Sorry, 1.2 2 lakh.
1.2 lakh. Yeah, we have a capacity of 40,000, but I think the domestic market you have mentioned is 1.2 lakh metric tons.
Yes.
So just wanted to hear that point. Yeah, is it mostly catered by one or two big players, which are our competitors, or there are a number of other players which we will have to replace? How is the market scenario?
Yeah, so practically everybody who buys acrylamide in the Indian market makes some form of a polyacrylamide. That 120,000 ton polyacrylamide liquid market considers all of the other polyacrylamide products as well, like the polyacrylamide liquids which go into paper, textiles, for multiple other products. And they are all different concentrations. Some things may be as low as a 10% content, some things may be as high as a 35-40% content. So there's a very, very large number of producers which totally combined produce this quantity.
Sure, sir. My next set of questions.
Aman, if I
Yeah.
can just interrupt you, can you please rejoin the queue because there are others with some questions.
No issues. I will rejoin. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question sent by Akhil Agarwal. Any plans or thought process of entering into strategic partnerships, tie-ups, or joint ventures with global majors, for example, Mitsui Chemicals?
So Mitsui Chemicals is already our collaborator, and we work very closely with Mitsui Chemicals all the time. So they are already our collaborator. They have provided us the technology for manufacturing acrylamide. They are involved through a technical assistance agreement with our acrylamide solid production business as well. So we are already very close to Mitsui Chemicals. And if there are opportunities for any kind of joint ventures or any kind of collaborations, these are things that Mitsui and us would discuss openly anytime we are at that kind of a relationship where we can discuss anything. So yes, so if there are such, whether it is Mitsui or whether it is another global major in any of these products that we are producing, we would happily understand what the synergies are, and if there are any synergies, we would be happy to work together with such companies. It will all depend on what's on the table at the time.
Thank you, Anubji. Okay, Yog, I'll take your question in a minute. There's a question sent by Dhawal Shah. Thank you, Anubji. Thank you, Anubji. On macro level, we are seeing a lot of global manufacturing unit transferring their orders to India on China Plus One. How are you planning to capitalize on export market, which drives higher margin for you? Not to mention these clients are more sticky and long-term in nature. What are your plans to capture this opportunity? If you want, I can just repeat the question.
No, I got it. So we are already capturing these opportunities. Some of our large export customers have been with us for the last 5 years, 6 years. With many of the MNCs that we work with in India and overseas, we have annual contracts, formula-based pricing contracts. So we are working with a lot of international companies already, both in India and internationally. Exports are a very important part of our business because the domestic market has certain saturations. When we mentioned we are talking about the capacity utilization and other things for acrylamide, but the way we internally assess our performance is based on how much of market demand have we satisfied. And we consistently satisfy approximately 80%, 75 to 80% of the existing market demand on a monthly basis. So we are very much the market leaders for the product. So on the domestic side, there is the upside in terms of capacity utilization naturally becomes limited, because when we are already at 75-80% of market share supplying our product to domestic industry, the additional growth has to come from the international business. And this is an area where we are very active all the time. Unfortunately, this quarter and maybe in the future quarters, unless this global logistics issues get resolved, even if we get orders, the difficulty is in shipping out the orders right now. We have, currently we have approximately 300 tons of material ordered and waiting to be shipped out, even for this month, just because vessels are not available. So the export business is very, very important for us, and it's really just a matter of these logistics issues getting resolved that we'll be seeing much better export numbers.
You please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, hi. It was not related to production, but in general, I wanted to understand whether the company has plans of listing the company also on the NSE, because I've just seen that the company listed on the BSE. So are we planning to also be listed on the NSE anytime soon?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes. We do intend to do so at some time. There was a difficulty in doing that earlier because the net worth requirements under the NSE were a certain figure which we had not achieved at that time. But as of now, our net worth figures do satisfy the NSE requirements. So yes, that is something that we are considering. We will be discussing it at the board level, and yes, that's something that we are actively considering.
Okay. Could we expect it to happen within a year, or would it take time over a year to achieve this goal?
I will have to understand what are the if there are any timeline requirements by the NSE. So our secretarial team will look into that, and we will do it at the earliest possible date.
I have another question, if you don't mind, regarding polyacrylamide solids. So that project seems to require a lot of capital expenditure compared to other capex plans that we have. So would it be entirely funded through internal funding, or do we have plans for a QIP or to take on debt to complete this project in the near future?
So we have not taken a call on that. We are open to all options right now. I don't think it would be completely in one basket. It would probably be a combination of various sources of funding.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you. Ajinkya Jadhav has sent a question, if I can take it, Anupi.
Sure.
When do you expect dental segment to start contributing to top line?
Okay. So the dental segment is, I had mentioned in the earlier press conference, earnings conference that we had. The dental business is a very small part of our business. The reason why we got into it is because the company that we represent here in India is a subsidiary of Mitsui Chemicals, and Mitsui Chemicals being very close partner with us on other distribution products and also in the acrylamide business. When they requested us to handle the business for them. In fact, it was earlier being handled by their office in Delhi, Mitsui Chemicals India. They used to earlier handle it, but they felt that Black Rose would do a better job with that business, and so they transferred that business to us. So, in terms of volumes, it's not a very, very large business that you cannot expect a very large business from that sector. But, these are all businesses which help build our relationships with our principals further. And we are doing it with that. We have built a good network of dealers as well as our own salespeople in various states within the country, and we are continuing to grow that business. But I don't see it being a significant part of our distribution business in the near future.
We have two short questions from Neha Idnani, and then we'll take the last question from Aman Vij. Can you please let us know why the polyacrylamide solid plant is getting delayed? Is it due to R&D or market demand or business development?
Okay. So the reason why the polyacrylamide solid is getting delayed is largely because, like I mentioned earlier, during COVID last year, in March and April, we had to pretty much slow down a lot of activities at our lab because our team could not visit our site for carrying out a lot of the pilot projects and other things that were going on at the time. And when that slowdown took place, we reassessed the different products in our pipeline and decided that it made more sense to commercialize products which we could bring to market faster at a lower investment cost and which brought significant profitability as well as revenue. So that's why we decided to prioritize on the acrylamide solid and also the NMA, not N-methanol acrylamide business. So that is where we kind of shifted our focus for some time into those products. So it's more an R&D issue. It's more about an R&D focus issue. We would like to, once these two products are launched in the next quarter, we will again refocus our R&D efforts into the polyacrylamide solid side and try to get that set up as soon as possible. It's a conscious decision.
Also, how will we prevent a further delay in timelines for polyacrylamide solids?
There's not really a delay in the sense that the delay hasn't happened because of any external factors except for the COVID matter which I mentioned to you just now. So I don't anticipate any serious delays going forward.
Neha, I hope your questions have been answered. Now we can take the last question from Aman Vij. Aman, please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is on the acrylamide utilization side, the liquid acrylamide. So we had achieved 80-90% utilization in Q3, and you had mentioned clearly it was because of short-term demand from oil and gas sector. So when do we expect, say, a continuous kind of higher utilization in our acrylamide liquid plant? Because this quarter you have said it is 40%. So how do you see this ramp up going forward? And when do we see sustained number of 80-90% utilization in this plant?
So the 40% was in the last quarter. Q1 was the 40% utilization. And like I mentioned, that was even though we were at 40% utilization, we were still at 75-80% of market share. So the capacity utilization really depends on two factors. One is the local demand, and the second is the international demand. So last quarter we had very low local demand, but even despite the low local demand, we still had captured approximately 80% of the market share. So when the international demand was there, which allowed us to increase our overall sales. Now, going forward, the capacity utilization really depends largely on the international demand as well, because the local demand is limited to a certain figure. And even if we take 100% of that market share, which we don't, it's not impossible to do so. That's not going to really ramp up your capacity utilization. the capacity utilization really gets ramped up when we have good export demand. And the export demand is currently very healthy, and export demand is very strong right now. But like I said, the problem is not getting containers to ship out the cargo. Currently also, like I said, we have 300 tons of material waiting to be exported. So, these are the kind of issues which are kind of outside our control. And if logistics costs and the vessel availabilities improve, then we'll see our capacity utilization increasing much faster. If we have to, if that is slowed down again because of these issues and domestic market remains sluggish, then again, we will have different capacity utilizations. But the good thing about our plant is that even at very low capacity utilizations, we are profitable. Even at a 40% capacity utilizations, we have EBITDAs upward of 20%, 20, 25, 30% also. So the capacity utilization will definitely help us improve that even further. But we are extremely comfortable even at these low numbers. We are not under any kind of cost pressure at all.
Sure, sir. My final question is basically after the 2 new products which will be launching in next quarter, are there any plans to launch similar 30-50 crore products, and or our focus will be mostly on PAM solid?
No, we will be focusing on the PAM solid largely. There is one more product that is there already in our environmental clearance, which we have not started too much work on, and that is the polycarboxylates, which are basically dispersants again, which is used in the ceramic piping industry. These are based on acrylic acid. So that is there as a product in our pipeline, but it is not at a very high level of priority as of now.
Sure. Thank you for answering the question.
Thank you, Aman. Okay, that was the last question in queue. I hope the management of Blackrose has answered all the questions. In case there are some still left, my email ID is on the invite. Request you to send your questions and we'll take them up with Anupji and his team. I now invite Anupji for the closing remarks.
So again, thank you very much for everyone for giving your time to listen to our webinar and to see our presentation. I hope we have been able to answer a lot of your questions, and we look forward to interacting with you further in the future quarters as well. Stay safe, take care, thank you very much, and have a good evening.
On behalf of all of us at SKP Securities, I want to thank Mr. Jatia and his team for their time and sharing their views with our investors. And we look forward to hosting you in the coming quarters. Thank you and have a good day.